Hi, I'm Tara Powers, CEO of Powers Resource Center, putting together this little video for executives who may be just looking for a little support during this time on how to lead virtually through some of these transformational changes that COVID-19 is causing around the world. So I wanted to just take a minute to introduce myself. I am the author of Virtual Teams for Dummies. I ran a pretty extensive research study on what makes virtual teams effective, and a lot of certainly what we know helps virtual teams get work done, be productive, stay engaged is really applicable today. But there are some nuances, and that is a lot of people didn't choose to work virtually, or they're doing it for the first time. And so stress is possibly at an all-time high. If people are working from home and they are there with family, focus time for work isn't as easy to come by. And so I just wanted to put this video together with several tips on what you can do as an executive leader to really support your company through this difficult transition that may last quite a while. So I wanted to start off with this quote, because as the leader of your organization, or on the leadership team, it truly is very important that your mindset and attitude is in the right place, because it will, more than probably anything else that you do, impact what the outcome is for your company after this is all over or we start to go back to normal. It's going to impact how well your employees felt cared for. It's going to impact how well you continue to maintain productivity in some way. Certainly not what you probably saw before this happened, but that you still are able to service your customers, perhaps continue to get work done. So really checking your attitude and mindset is going to be really important. And I thought today what I would do is share from an executive focus, where do I think you should be considering spending your time and energy? What should you be thinking about when it comes to supporting your new virtual workforce? So there are really 4 things we're going to talk about today. Number 1, mindset. Second, technology. Third, communication. And of course, the 4th, connection. So I already mentioned how important your attitude and mindset is, but I want to give you a couple tips to really kind of think about and reflect on. Number 1, if you have immediately just tried to get business back to normal and do business as usual with the same amount of meetings, including all the same people in those meetings, what you're going to find pretty quickly is that it probably doesn't feel good. It feels clunky. There probably are some people who are frustrated because perhaps they don't need to be there. There's too many people in a meeting to even be able to make a decision or solve a problem. So I want you to recognize that it's not going to be exactly like it was when you were working in the office. And it's important that you give yourself, your teams, and everybody in the company a hall pass, right? There needs to be some grace during this time as people start to shift and figure out, how do we actually make this work in a time that is difficult. I would encourage you to really rethink how work gets done. Do we need to actually be seeing employees doing work to ensure it's getting done? You don't, right? That's not true. And so what you need to shift to at this point is really trusting in your employees that they will get the work done with guidance, with support, with engagement from their leader, and certainly from you as the executive. It's really important that you also shift your mindset around how you run meetings, how many meetings you have. Are they necessary, right? Right now, people's stress levels are very high. I just talked to a CEO 2 days ago who is having to hold meetings in his bathroom because that's the only place his kids will leave him alone. So we do need to recognize that perhaps we don't need as many meetings as we used to have. Perhaps our progress updates can now move to technology that we can do online, and that we really focus on connection, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. So really rethinking what works for people and not trying to push the same agenda or the same way we've worked when we were in the office, because it's just not going to work. Second thing, technology. What I see happening is a lot of companies, because of this stress and immediately trying to get back to work as usual, they're not using their technology tools strategically. So once again, almost every company I work with has collaboration tools like this, right? Where we are collaborating. You might have a Slack channel, you might have webinars, Skype, something, that you use to connect. Are we using it strategically? What do our teams need more of right now? Do they need more meetings, or do they need more opportunity to connect collaboratively, socially? Do they need a chance to actually talk about what they're struggling with? Do they need to be able to just talk about how crazy it is and that they're afraid and they just want to connect that way? Are we allowing our technology to work best for us right now? The other thing that I notice is some companies, in order to hold employees accountable, are using their technology in ways that probably make some of the employees feel like, Big Brother's watching them, so to speak, where, if they have to be online constantly and there's some way that we can determine that, that is going to get old really quick, and you're going to start to see trust deteriorate very quickly. So again, we have to be strategic about how we're using technology. If we're doing a good job setting direction, being clear, setting expectations, clarifying roles and responsibilities, and your leaders are doing a good job with that, then we should be able to allow people some focused time to get work done and not be bombarding them with connecting over technology in 10 different ways. The other thing I would encourage you to do is taking a quick tech assessment, a tech check. Are we using too many tools? And is it overwhelming for people? Are we clear on what are going to be maybe the top 3 tools that we're going to use and we expect everyone to use to maintain and update progress, to connect during important meetings, and perhaps to instant message, right? When they just need a quick answer. What are those 3 key tools or 4 key tools that you want everyone to be up to speed on? Do you need to offer some training? Can you use some internal subject matter experts to do that training? So again, it's an opportunity to create connection while people are learning, because they're learning from someone that works in your company that does this very well. And then the last thing is really, when you think about technology, focusing on where you're putting your resources, right? If you have 10 software platforms that people have to use, how is that impacting your IT department, who now is trying to manage 10 platforms virtually, right? How are we allocating our resources, simplifying, getting around alignment around what are the important tools that we need to use right now? What are our expectations about how they're used? And does that work for everyone? And who needs additional support to get up to speed? Third key thing to focus on right now is certainly communication. As the leaders in your organization, one of the most important things you can immediately establish is one place that people can go to get information and updates about company-wide communication. You don't have to continually hold all staff meetings to communicate it unless it's really important, but make sure there is a repository where if people have questions, they can all go to the same place, read the same thing, and get the same information. The worst thing that you can let get out of hand right now is information that reminds me of when we were in kindergarten and we used to pass it down the alley, right? You might say something to your leadership team and expect all of them to go and disseminate that to their teams. And then they're going to go and disseminate that to the frontline teams. And by the time it reaches them, the message, it's not clear. It's not the outcome that you had hoped. It doesn't create engagement. Maybe it incites fear. So it's really important that you think very strategically about what are we communicating? Where can people go to get the same message, and that it's clear for everyone? As a leader, right now, your main job is to over communicate direction. What are we doing? What are our priorities this week? You might start to prioritize things into shorter time frames, right? That gives people a little bit of a sense of control. So maybe we're focused on what are we doing this week, right? What is the clear direction that we need everybody to focus on over the next 2 weeks? That can be very, very grounding and very helpful. And you may need to over communicate it. So you might need to have an all hands virtual meeting. You might need to send out obviously company-wide information and have it in a place where people can go and reread it again. Very important to practice transparency. It's okay to say you're not sure how something's going to work, right? You're trying new things right now. Everybody is. And it is okay to say, we're going to try this. Maybe you set up a feedback channel on Slack. How is it working for people, right? Maybe that's something you ask at the beginning of every day or the beginning on Mondays. How is this new strategy that we implemented working? Please share your story so that we can all learn from it. So practice transparency, allow people to share and be transparent. That can be very effective. And then make your communication expectations simple. I think what happens, at least what I'm seeing from some of the companies I'm working with, they continue to have the same amount of meetings, as I said, with the same amount of people. And we can't make decisions quickly. We can't get things done, right? People tend to get a little frantic and anxiety starts to spread. How can we simplify not just our communication, but even communication in meetings? Who attends the meetings? Who needs to be there? Do we have to have a meeting? Can it be something that we communicate through writing, through an email, and save some of these virtual collaboration opportunities to connect, which is my last focus area. Right now, with this transition, it's very new for people. One of the most important things you can do is support people spending more time building connection. And you may do that as an organization. So you might have all hands social hours instead of all hands meetings where you're just talking about business. How do we help people socially connect? If you have people spread out all over the country, all over the world, what can we do to socially connect people right now? And certainly encouraging your leaders to do the same. What people need right now to lower anxiety is connection, human connection. So if we are just all business, heads down, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? You're missing a very key part of what's going to help you get through this time. And I would encourage you to choose your connection technology wisely, as I mentioned. So those are the 4 areas that I want to encourage you to focus on, right? Your mindset, where you're placing a lot of that energy, technology, communication, and connection. And of course, if you need additional support or help, or you're looking for some support for your leaders or teams, reach out to us. Our information is below. We're all going to get through this together. Stay healthy. Thank you.